Hey everyone, Once Bitten here with another battle report. So I have a good one today, very creatively called it the Battle of Bitten's Bees. Because it's Beastmen versus Bretonnia, I'm playing my Beastmen and the Blessing is playing Bretonnia from his home in Illinois, so we're playing it over Skype. And these Skype battles between people that only know each other through YouTube and Warseer and sites like that, I think are really interesting, and it turned out to be just a fantastic game. So this is at my house. I set up the terrain because there was an inherent disadvantage by playing long distance. I went ahead and set up my army first, and then he was allowed to deploy after I was done. And the terrain, there's really nothing special about anything on the board terrain-wise, except for the monument in the bottom middle. That is it's basically a Bretonnian statue. We're treating it as impassable terrain with the same rules as the Grail Chapel, so it grants any Bretonnian unit within 6 inches stubborn. And I thought that would be probably wouldn't come into play, but it'd be kind of a nice little thing to have there. So starting on my left, his right, he's got Peg Knights, 48 men-at-arms, and he's got the damsel with him, so because of the prayer icon, they have the same word save as the knights. And then he's got his paladin battle standard bearer in there. Now, interesting, because he has the Grail Vow, now they won't be able to flee anything should I charge them. But yeah, it's interesting because the biggest disadvantage that men-at-arms have is that their weapon skill 2, and so a lot of times, being strength 4 is nice, but you have to hit first. But the nice thing about fieldem and horde formation is that you have so many attacks that you're going to hit a bunch. And I never really appreciated that as much as when I'm facing them with that many. Anyway, he's got some skirmishing archers in front of the Grail statue. Then he's got 14 Knights of the Realm. They have the Twilight Banner. I think that's because he hasn't played Bretonnians before and didn't realize that the Twilight Banner sucks, because you can only use it during your regular movement phase. It doesn't count during a charge, and that's when Bretonnians really need it. So whatever. He's got a Prophetess in there, level 4 beasts, and Crown of Command, and a scroll, 20 archers. And then way over here on my right flank, his left, he's got the Grail Relic, 9 Questy Knights, and then 9 Knights Errant without the Errantry banner, which I thought was very interesting, and his Lord. And this Lord, I have never seen a build like this. I find it very, very intriguing. One, he has the Terrifying Mask of E, so he causes terror, and nobody can use his leadership. So he's in a unit that's leadership 7, and there is no leadership across the board, with the exception that his Paladin Battle Standard Bearer is giving his leadership within 12 inches to peasants. I thought that was very, very interesting. And of course, he chose the Knightly Temper Virtue instead of Heroic Killing Blow, which is obviously my favorite. So overall, I saw his list before I put together my list, and I would never tailor a list, specifically against whatever. But the one thing I noticed about his list was it was very even keel. I mean, it's competitive. He's got a lot of tools in there, but he didn't seem to have any of the normal tricks that you see most often, with the possible exception of Crown of Command. But really, he doesn't have the Virtue of Heroism. He doesn't have the tank paladins in the front of a knight unit. I mean, those kind of tricks, he's not using any of them. So when I built my list, I wanted it the same way. I wanted to be capable of winning, but not necessarily relying on anything. And so because of that, I didn't bring the Doom Bull or some of the other things like the Minibus. But starting on the far right, I've got a Chariot, 6 Minotaurs full command. Brought the Gorgon because I love the model. Let's see, a Gore Bunker, and in there I've got 3 Spellcasters. So I guess this is one trick I am using, the Herdstone spam. I've got Great Bray, 2 level 1s, all using Lore of Beasts, and the Skull of Rarkos gives every spellcaster within 6 inches +1 to cast. So my Great Bray's at +5, and my level 1s are at +2. So and generating 3 extra power dice per turn. So I feel that should give me dominance in the magic phase. I got some Harpies, my Horde of Gore extra hand weapon with the Beast banner, the Bestigore, they've got like the flaming banner, Tuskgore Chariot, and then to the left off the screen is a Razor Gore. So obviously I go first because he's praying to get the ward save. I back my Razor Gore up in the left hand side because I didn't want his Peg Knights getting easy points and forcing panic tests. So I put the Chariot behind my Bestigore so that the Peg Knights will be in its flank and they can't touch his flank, so I felt it'd be protected. He might be able to reach the Razor Gore, but if he does, it'll be difficult, and he'll be pretty far away from the rest of the action. Otherwise, I move up. Really, I'd like to get my horde up against his horde, but because he got to deploy in reaction to me, I'm kind of far away. I really don't want my Bestigors going against his horde because I think he'll win that ultimately. So my thinking is here on the right, everything to the right, the Minotaurs to the right, all those units he has over there are kind of far away from everything else. I'd really like my Minotaurs in the chariot just to tie them up. Rush my Gorgon forward. I'd like to get my Gorgon in with his knights, move my Gore horde over against his horde, and at this point in the game, I'm thinking I don't think I think that plan would work very well for me. During the magic phase, I get the beefed up Amber Spear off on his Knights of the Realm and kill 3 of them. And other than that, magic, nothing really significant happened. And there's just the right hand side. I want him to charge me, but have long ranges, so he gets a failed charge every now and then. And otherwise, I'd really like I said, my Minotaurs just to kind of slow things down over here. So because there's only one of us at the table, I'm switching sides with my picture. So obviously, I'm over here on the Bretonnian side for his turn 1. The big news is that he chose to charge his Knights of the Realm into my Gorgon. I was really surprised. I mean, that's what I wanted. I thought this is beautiful. That's precisely what I want. So he's going to come in, might do some wounds, but I might get those wounds back, and I'm stubborn 10, and he's got Crown of Command. So everything's just going to be sitting there for a while. Here, in my magic phase, I got Curse of Honor here off. He decided to march anyway because he felt he really needed to redirect this horde, which he was right. And he failed 2 of his 3 dangerous terrain tests, so lost a Peg Knight there. Otherwise, he moves up like that, pulls the damsel out of the unit. This is on his far left flank, so both of his knight units can see the Gorgon. The questing knights would just have to go straight and then wheel, but either way, decently long charges, but at least they can see him, and they're far enough back that it won't be an easy charge for the Minotaurs to get into them. And taking the relic up so that the Minotaurs will likely charge them. And the problem with me charging him there is that he'll be stubborn 8, and if he passes it, it's an easy counter charge for his knights, but more importantly, his knights can hit and then overrun, and they're right in the middle of the action, where what I'm hoping for here is that they get some failed charges and slow down. So there's his Grelic looking at my Minotaurs. I believe they're taunting me a little bit. Not sure how much they like that. And after combat, yeah, he did 2 wounds on my Gorgon, which was more than I expected, because but I think if I did the math hammer, I think that's probably pretty lucky on my part. And I only killed 1 of his, which at the time I felt was horribly unlucky, but having looked at the numbers, I think I should have only done 1 or 2 anyway. So, yeah, he wins, and I'm stubborn 10 and pass it. So we go to Beastman turn 2. So I only charged my Bestigor into his Peg Knights. In hindsight, I probably should have just gone ahead and charged the horde in there as well, but whatever. We'll get them off the board. I fly my Harpies up because otherwise the men-at-arms are staring down the flank of my Bestigor, and I can't have that. Over here on the right, I just step up with my Minotaurs for the very reason that I said earlier. One, I mean, I would have loved to have charged the Knights, but I was far enough away. I was worried about failing it, and I'm okay with the Gorgon just holding up that side and letting all my infantry take care of all of his peasants. So over here, I'm thinking I'm going to man the wall. His peasants are welcome to charge my Minotaurs. I would love that. His knight units can charge me. They'll be -1 to hit first round of combat, and that's the round I'm mostly worried about. And it's far enough away that it's not an automatic charge, so again, he might get those failed charges. So very, very happy to man the wall there. Over here, the Bestigors, they kill the champion. They did not kill the other Peg Knight. So when he fled, I pursued him, caught him, but it put me at this weird angle because I kind of clipped him to begin with. So don't love the positioning of the Bestigors, and they would have gone. I think I rolled a 12, but they stopped him where my horde is. So I'm really. This is why I'm thinking I should have charged with the Gore, because then I could have just overrun with the Gore and been closer to his horde, which is what my original plan was. Nevertheless, I'm a little bit tied up right there. At the end of combat, I don't do any wounds to him because I was going for the killing blow, trying to gain back a wound or 2. He gets 1 more than my guy. Now I'm looking at Gorgon, who's already halfway through his wounds. He is not holding up the way I expected him to, which is kind of weird because usually when I charge him with Knights of the Realm, if I don't kill things on the charge, I don't do any wounds after that. And then they still did a wound to my Gorgon. Go figure. So we moved to his turn, and these are the order of his charges because the way it worked out just ended up being kind of funny. He wanted, first off, for his questy knights to get into the flank of the Gorgon, because if he does that, he will likely kill the Gorgon, and then he can overrun, get out of line of sight of the Minotaurs, probably into the flank of my horde. And I was really worried about that. It was a decently long charge, and he fails it. Before he knew that he failed it, of course, he charged with his Grail Relic into my Minotaurs, and then his Knights Errant failed their Impetuous test, and they had to charge something, so they chose to charge the Gorgon. Well, I really, really needed his Questy Knights to fail, and they failed. I really, really wanted his Grail Relic to make it, because if they make it to my Minotaurs, it blocks both Knight units from being able to get to the Gorgon. And then, after combat, assuming I win, I can shuffle my Minotaurs over slightly so that both those Knight units are in their front and won't be able to touch their front. And I was just so excited, and the damn Grail Relic rolled like snake eyes or something. So then he finally rolls his Knights Errant. They needed like an 11 or 12, and they are the ones that got it. Darn it. I did not need that. So there's a bunch of Strength 5 attacks going in, but more importantly, he's got his General. Yeah, so all of a sudden the Gorgon, who's supposed to be holding, him and the Minotaurs are supposed to be holding up this flank, it is not working. So let's see, his Men-at-Arms charge my Harpies just to get them out of the way. He sacrifices his Peasant Bowmen up to redirect the Horde, so I can't do any countercharging there. Both of us seem to be doing a lot of that this game. And now, of course, I've switched back over to my side of the table. Yeah, so his Knights Errant come in. I think they do a wound or two on the Gorgon. The General does a wound or two. Either way, the Gorgon dies. The General overruns into the flank of my Horde, and that is really bad. To make matters worse, my Minotaurs failed their panic test. They had an 8 rerollable, and they just didn't feel like it, so they ran away. And that's critical, because if they were there, they could have, I don't know, countercharged or done something useful. And instead, God, that really hurt. You guys, yeah. And this really, really has me worried. His General's up against my Battle Standard Bearer. He's really very likely to kill him. Yeah, so I'm scrambling in my head thinking of what we can do to salvage this. His Men-at-Arms kill my Harpies, and they reform. And then we go to my turn. So what I decided to do is take my bunker and charge into the flank of his Knights Errant. And then my thinking is, his General has a great weapon. I get to go first, so I'm going to throw as many dice as possible at the Savage Beast of Horos big version, and I'll have 4 characters at +3 attacks, +3 strength, and that might actually work. And if that doesn't go through, then I maybe just some Wysons. I've got 2 different casters who can do that. But this is big. This could be very, very important. And the Minotaurs decided to rally, which, I appreciated. Yeah, so we go to the magic phase, and I don't get Irresistible Force for the Savage Beast, and he has his Dispel Scroll. And then, now he has as many Dispel dice as I have Power dice, or I think he has more, actually. So then I don't get any spells off. What a fail. I had 11 Power dice. I think he had 6, something like that. Yeah, just an epic fail. I really needed it. That was very, very good use of his Dispel Scroll. And, yeah, over here, my Bestigor went ahead and charged the flank of his Bowmen just to get rid of them. Should I win combat, I'm going to reform so that I don't get flank charged by his Men-at-Arms. And my... at the time, I was thinking that I'll park my Razor Gore here to redirect his Men-at-Arms. But what I didn't realize till later is even if they beat the Razor Gore in combat, they're going to overrun and still hit the flank of the Bestigors. So, yeah. So this was absolutely crazy. First off, everything went wrong. I mean, magic went wrong. I didn't get Primal Fury on my Spellcaster's unit. And even with that, his General totally whiffed all his attacks. So he didn't do a single wound to my battle standard bearer. I won through sheer combat res. I don't know how many I killed. I'm guessing maybe one or two, whatever it was. So, and then not only did I win combat, but he broke, and even though he had 3 dice to my 2 dice, I still caught him, which absolutely crazy. So I reformed with my bunker unit. I pursued with my battle standard bearers unit, but to determine the direction we were going to go, it went from the unit with the most ranks. Well, I have 3 ranks in both, and so we had to dice it off, and they ran away from my horde unit, which is why my horde unit is where it is, which is just awful. If we had gone away from my bunker unit, I would have overran into the face of his Knights of the Realm, and that would have been very nice. So I'm not complaining that his generals off the board, the Knights Errant are off the board, but I'm telling you, I am so convoluted in the middle of the table with those units. So over here, yeah, I mean, like I said, I put the Razor Gore there, and then I realized I still have to reform my Bestigor, because otherwise he's going to charge me. So we go to Bretonnian turn 3, and his bunch of things are happening here. One, his big Night Block charges my bunker, and I have to flee. It hurts to flee, because even fleeing, I know he has a good chance of catching me. But I flee, and he doesn't catch me, and he fails his redirect test. So he's just sitting out there parked in front of my horde. But then I made a huge mistake when the men-at-arms charged my Razor Gore first, and I decided just to flee with them because I realized he was going to overrun into my Bestigor anyway. It didn't occur to me that he could wheel around the Bestigor and hit that horde unit. And so after my Razor Gore, I chose to flee with my Razor Gore, thinking he would charge my Bestigor. No, he charged my horde of gore, and that's really scary, because the only thing I've going for me are all my attacks at strength 4, but that doesn't matter because we're just clipping. And he's got to charge a rear, a rank, 3 ranks, and a banner to my 2 banners. That's not good. Here on the right-hand side, we're just dancing a little bit. He moves up and mans the wall, just like I had with my Minotaurs, and his Questy Knights, he feels he really can't get him into the action. So he's just kind of between the Grail Relic and the other Knights, so he's just changing formation to maybe receive a chariot charge. And this just killed me. That was absolutely huge. He barely made that wheel, but he could indeed wheel past the Bestigors. I was just kicking myself. I just stayed with the Razor Gore. Yeah, but it wasn't to happen. So there's that. This is my left-hand side. So now my Bestigors are facing nothing. They are totally... I have mispositioned them all game long. That chariot is doing nothing, although it could charge those men-at-arms. Yeah, during his magic phase, because I don't have any casters, all my casters are fleeing right now, so he had a very dominant magic phase. He got Weissens off on that horde, so they are toughness 4, strength 5 with a ward save. That is nothing to be trifled with. And this is really scaring me. So if you look at, you notice my horde of gore are gone. Yeah, so he came in, he just won through sheer combat res. I broke from combat and they ran me down, and they are, as you can see them. So I am in a world of hurt. If I can rally this unit, and they'll need a 9, the leadership 8 with the musician, then the men-at-arms probably won't be able to charge them because that Herdstone is in the way. The Knights could probably charge them, but I'll have a magic phase that should be dominant, and I can maybe get a Mountain Chimera, maybe get a couple Weissens. I mean, I could do whatever seems like it might be best. But I really need some good things to happen there, or this game is going to be very difficult. So instead of rallying, I just decided to flee off the board with all 3 spellcasters. Yeah. So, yeah, the Minotaurs were able to charge the Knights of the Realm in the flank. They needed a 7, and I was actually really worried that I'd fail that. Over here, I just reformed the units. I didn't take the chariot in because he just would have lost combat, and then it would have allowed the men-at-arms to reform any way he wanted to. So we just reformed. Over here, I need this to go real well. The problem is, I know the Prophetess has Crown of Command, and it's going to be tough to get past his armor save and his ward saves. but it's the best I can do. And the good news is he can't countercharge me on his turn as it is right now. So on the right-hand side, the chariot's over here. I don't need the chariot to do much. I don't need him to live or die. Anything he can do to hold a unit up, I'm very happy with. So what I'm thinking of now is just charging either one of these units that if I think I can make the charge to win and maybe win combat and hope that he can fail his stubborn or steadfast. Of course, if I go against the questing knights, I don't think I'll win. I think he'll just chop me up. So after combat, you can see he's missing. I think I did 2. I don't remember what the picture looked like, but I think I killed a couple knights. He did, I think, a wound on me, and we both wanted to reform, but for him to reform, he wouldn't be able to stay in the lance formation because the men-at-arms are in the way. So he just had to stay like he is, unless he wanted to go wide and then put his prophetess in the front rank. So he decided just to stay in the lance formation. I expanded my frontage. My guys are now, let's see, 3 attacks plus extra hand weapon plus frenzy. So they're at 5 attacks each as it is. So we go to Bretonnian turn 4, and we just kind of have everything kind of concentrated on the center there. You can see he reformed his questing knight so he can charge on his next turn. His Grail Relic is facing my chariot. His men-at-arms turn to face my Bestigor. Yeah, so what I'm thinking here is on my turn, I'm just going to charge in. I'll win the first round of combat. He'll either hold or he'll break. And if he holds, then he'll certainly beat me the next round of combat. And if he breaks, I'll more than likely run him down. And it's going to work or not. There's the questing knights very patiently waiting to come in. And, Bestigor are my elite troops, but yeah, that's just a losing proposition. Plus, I have no magic now. I have no anything. And so his magic phases are dominant. I cannot stop. He has 2 different Weissen's Wild Form on the table. He'll always be able to get one of them through. So after combat, yeah, those the Minotaurs tore up the Knights of the Realm, tore them up. Reformed afterwards. He's got 1 guy left. But the problem is I can only attack the knight, and then she'll be left, but she's going to be stubborn, and then he can countercharge with his questing knights. But we are starting to rack up the attacks now. So now we are at 6 attacks each. So that's nothing to sneeze at, strength 5. So we'll go to Beastmen turn 5. Yeah, he had Weissen's off on his men-at-arms unit, so I did not want to charge with my Bestigor. So I just moved my chariot up to redirect him. Yeah, there's the redirect. My Razorgore, who fled a charge, then he did not rally, and this turn he did rally. Yeah, looking forward to that. Go ahead and charge my chariot in. And so this was kind of weird. So, we obliterated the remaining Knight of the Realm. We couldn't direct any attacks at her, so after combat I wanted to reform. And my first thought was to turn him this way to receive the charge from the questing knights. And then we had a rules question come up saying, can you, if you're in the front, turn to offer your flank to the unit, to your opponent? And we looked it up real quick and decided you couldn't, and so I put them back the way they were before the next turn, and you'll notice that change. Interested if anybody knows the rule on that, because one thing that occurred to me is, if it says you can't change your facing, then why is it that if somebody has you in the flank, you can reform to give them your front, but you can't go from your front to your flank? So I don't know. That would be a nice rule to know, especially in this situation. It makes a big difference in the terms of the number of attacks I get on his questing knights. But regardless, we go to Bretonnian turn 5, and predictable charges. His men-at-arms go into my chariot, his questing knights come to my Minotaurs, and his Grail Relic is still tied in combat with my chariot. I won combat. They did a ton of wounds. I did a ton of wounds on him, and he passed a stubborn 8. So this is making me nervous. I do have, I think, 7 attacks each. But one problem I had is when I reformed, I forgot to move my champion. He's in the front left as we're facing it. So we get in a challenge between his prophetess and my champion, and so now my champion can't attack all those knights. And I moved his unit in there, but when it came time to fight him, we scooted him over so that all his knights could attack. So had I thought about it, I would have reformed to put the champion somewhere else so that I had 2 full Minotaurs attacking his knights instead of only 1 Minotaur. Blurry picture, but basically he won combat and broke my chariot, was not able to catch him. After combat here, yeah, the prophetess is easily dead. Let's see, he looks like he has 6 knights left, and so I think he lost 1 knight to a dangerous terrain test, so I don't think I killed any of them. But in the challenge, I did 3 wounds on the prophetess and had like 3 overkill. So I think when all said and done, I still actually won combat. So I reformed facing him, and now we're at 7 attacks each. That's 28 attacks. I'm thinking I'm going to absolutely wipe the table with these questy knights. We go to Beastman turn 6. I'm confident at this point. He has Weisson's Wild Form off on the questy knights and on the men-at-arms. And so that changes the dynamics of both. Now, I think I'm going to wipe the table with the questy knights, but who knows? The men-at-arms, I still don't want to charge in there. I really don't think I'm going to win that. So I just charge I move the Razor Gore between the Bestigor and the men-at-arms. So I'm thinking if he charges the Razor Gore, I'm going to flee. He'll pop through my Bestigor. If he redirects to my Bestigor, then they'll flee and hopefully hop over the Razor Gore, and then he can't charge either one. And it's turn 6, game ends, and I don't lose those units. The only thing I wasn't counting on is that his archers can see my Bestigor. And that, yeah, I didn't see that when I made that plan. I rallied the chariot. And over here, oh, it broke my heart. I did so many wounds. Oh, I did so many wounds. I think he made 3 ward saves that saved him in the end. So I only needed to do 1 more wound, and I just couldn't do it. So we broke him in combat. He had his banner and his champion left. His banner died when they fled, and now he's going to keep all those points from the questy knights because I couldn't kill. It was so frustrating. Now, in hindsight, I should have directed some attacks at the champion just in case, because the banner was going to die regardless. As it is, I didn't direct any attacks at the champion. I don't think it would have mattered in this instance. So, yeah, I won the combat, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't have time to flee off the board, and I can't catch him. I can't do anything. So over here, he charged the Razor Gore. The Razor Gore fled. And then when he failed his redirect to go into the Bestigor, and that saved the Bestigor. The other archers were able to see, like they could barely see him, but they could see him. They needed a huge long charge, and they made it. So those archers into the flank of the Bestigor. Yeah, he doesn't rally his questy knight, but it doesn't matter. He charges my chariot, beats it through combat res, gets off the table. And over here, I fail my Primal Fury. He wins combat, and I stick. And yeah, that was kind of scary for a moment. So at the end of it, that's what you have left. He's got his Grail Relic, his men-at-arms, and his largish bowman unit. He only has 1 character. No, he has 2 characters. He has the Battle Standard Bearer and his damsel. And then, of course, he has the Dane Questy Knights. I've got the Bestigor, Razor Gore, and Minotaurs, and he wins by 300 points. So what a great fun game. A lot of maneuvering in the middle. I really found myself, I think, outplayed in the middle where I was out of position and he was in position a lot. But I'll take it. That was a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll get some more Skype games in the future.